Yeah, good, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, really good. I am like running through all the stuff that I shot at the Core Bike Show. Do you know what? It's the first time I've been to a bike show, like a proper one. And it was nice just meeting people and sort of getting to know the people behind the brands. So like you must have been sick of it over the years, but
No, no, I love bike shows, and actually, this year was the first year I've not been to Core Bike. I've been to, I think, all of them bar one when I
wow.
was ill at some point, and I was gutted I couldn't go. I came back from a trip last week, and it was just there's too much rushing around,
Yeah,
fortunately. But yeah, it felt weird not going.
I bet. Yeah, must do. Yeah, how's your week been? How's the last few weeks been?
Yeah, all right. Went out, did some filming, and rode. Lucky for me, got to ride with a Prima floor team, of which I needed an e-bike to ride with them. Because it's actually ridiculous. I mean, everyone knows how fast XCO athletes can ride, but
Yeah.
it's not until you actually join them and you just see the consistent speed.
Mm.
Like it doesn't matter up, down, over, flat. It's just I was over the limiter most of the time, but
Wow.
I could stay with them. But if I didn't have, I mean, especially with Andre, I mean, he was chilling as well, but he was just so strong, and for the climbs, I wouldn't have stayed near him.
Mm.
So it was
Yeah.
worth it. I had a neat, and it was just enough just to stay with him. But I was filming and talking as well, so I was breathing out my backside. But yeah, it's really cool to appreciate how well they can ride.
I've said over the years, like the fact that I came into mountain bike media around about the same time of e-bikes. I need to mute my phone. Around about the same time as e-bikes was a blessing in disguise because the amount of people that I've worked with that are just insanely fit and
Yeah,
like yeah, I've ridden with guys that and they've been on their mountain bikes and I've been on e-bike and I'm still struggling to keep up.
yeah. People were built differently for sure. I mean, well, XCO athletes.
The main reason for this call was
Yeah,
a story that you posted earlier today, and
I
like
posted
genuinely,
stuff.
I saw it earlier today, and you were referring to the crafty from like 20.
RRSL from 2021, which had a 625 watt hour battery. I think it was 625,
Yeah,
and Bosch full power system.
yeah.
The bike's got heavier since because it's now got 750 and it now comes with a 38 on there and a better shock, ironically. But the fact is, it's still basically the same frame.
The crafty RR is the pirate spec.
Yeah, it just cracked me up. When you see claims being thrown around everywhere. I mean, I know it's the bike industry. It is what it is. It's just a harmless little poke from me.
It's no, it's
Can't help myself.
interesting. Yeah, no, it fascinates me because obviously everyone just focuses on the lightweight aspect of bikes, and
Yeah,
it's a really big thing for me at the moment that I'm trying to delve deeper into because you've got this division between lightweight bikes, low power, full fat bikes, full power, and like giant batteries. And I think that there's a space and in the market, and I think most brands are starting to realize this that there is this blend between the two that is achievable, where
yeah,
you can have, I mean, 20, 21 kilos, whatever it is, and then full power motor, and then maybe choose the battery size that you want, have that range extender. Is that
yeah.
not the future?
To be fair, I think within reason, I'm not trying to upset anyone here. I think it's fairly achievable. I mean, the last couple of years has got carried away with the capabilities of full power bikes and sticking in the biggest batteries they possibly can.
Yeah,
And the 750 seems about right, I think, for like a big bike. And of course, it's heavier. It's significantly heavy. There's no getting around that with current technology. But yeah, if you were to strip that back to a 625 and maybe, put on a few more things and make the bike a little bit lighter, then suddenly you're going to be in that 21 kilo area fairly comfortably. I would have thought with some of the higher end bikes because you hear lightweight e-bikes being referred to, and that refers to two things: the physical weight of the bike, and then the motor weight as well,
yeah,
and the motor retention. Is it light powered? And I think it all gets a little bit lost. And I've now ridden quite a lot of different bikes, a lot of no-named bikes, just to try different motors and stuff on. And recently, I got to ride the Bosch SX system, which is, I mean, quite a strange system to be fair. Is the TQ system confused me when it came out because of the fact I was just like, nah, that's not for me. But actually, it couldn't be a better system for me because I'm the one that likes a bit of pain. I want just a little helping hand when I'm really done. I love it, but I don't want to go waxing on about that. And the SX, when I first rode it, I had to check like what I was on actually had an SX on it, and it wasn't the CX, and I had just got it completely wrong because even though the motor's 55 newton meters of torque, it feels a lot more.
And 600 watts of peak power.
Yeah, at between 90 and 100 RPM, 70 RPM will give you 400, which is about the same as 70 RPM will give you 600 on a CX, just for a rough comparison. But regardless of the output of the motor, what I've sort of found now going between different systems is the lack of weight in the bike and the slightly smaller battery almost makes the SX with a 400 watt hour comparable to a full power with a full size battery. But then you have a bike that responds totally differently. So even if there are brands out there, and there's going to be brands making lighter weight full powered bikes, that's great. But a full powered bike rides differently to a bike of the same weight with a lighter system on it, which is even more confusing, I think, for people.
For me, it's the option as well to have that amount of power, and then to have the additional range extender, which some brands are offering. Bosch, I think, have got a 250 watt hour range extender.
More. Yeah.
And so, like that to me is like best of both worlds. If I want to go out for a quick blast on my local hill, I can just leave it behind, and then if I want to go on this epic, I can take 2 range extenders if I want to.
Yeah, it's nice having the ability to sort of pick and choose.
Yeah,
it does make me wonder where it's going to go, because the e-bike world is still in a state where you know what I'm like. I always refer to old stuff. It reminds me of that late 90s or mid to late 90s era where there was so much development going on. That's what made it exciting back then. It wasn't the bikes weren't good or anything. It was just the fact there was so much new stuff being tried, experimented with. And I think consumers get frustrated with new standards and things going on. But what they have to understand is it's not just about creating new standards. When you're manufacturing something, you then, as you're doing that, you understand better ways to do it. And in doing that, you research new materials. And then, I can do this with less tools and less staff, less material to the same effect and less cost. There's always something going on in the background. And I think that's what happens when you've got an industry that's as young as ours. It's old enough now to have a bit of history, but it's still pretty young, to be fair, with how much technology there is.
The approach that Mondraker are taking towards e-bikes, are they going for quite a broad approach to design a range of bikes to suit everyone's needs, or are they starting to narrow down on maybe where the industry should be with e-bikes? Have they got their own view?
It's kind of hard to say because, for starters, e-bikes are, certainly in the UK and in some countries in Europe, they're by far the biggest things we sell. Obviously, this will change in different territories. But, so the TQ bike, the Neat, that is not designed to be compared to anything else. We designed that bike to be the lightest bike, to have the most responsive and natural feel to it. And that's why we picked the TQ over Fazua or any other lighter systems. It was because the feel of that system is key to it. Now, if someone likes that, great. If that's not their thing, obviously there's other choices available. When it comes to full power, obviously we've got bikes with Shimano on and with Bosch on. But Bosch, from everything I've seen recently, I've had some Bosch training and all sorts of other stuff. I just think what they are developing behind the scenes is incredible. And I think you will see more stuff coming from Bosch in the future, and I think we're going to see more battery tech. And I don't think at this stage any manufacturer is going to say, "Oh no, we think the bike industry should be here with e-bikes," because there's too much changing. I think everyone would like to have a full-powered bike that's like, well, that's the one to get, and the same by having a lightweight. But now it's going to change again because you're getting motors that are going to sit in between those, which sounds like a nightmare to some consumers, I'm sure. But I've seen that white E-Light with the SX on it, and that's a great example, because what you can do with that 400 watt hour battery, you can get about, give or take, depending on what your body weight is, I reckon I could get 1,500 meters of climbing on that battery.
Wow.
And for me to do that, you've got to work harder, don't get me wrong, but that's no problem for me. If you're a lightweight, like a jockey, then there's almost no reason to have the heavier bike.
Yeah.
Because what you can do with that, with the range extender, you've got a bike that feels nicer to ride, but still has some of the benefits of the sprung to unsprung on there. And really, for most people that ride 2 to 3 hours, like, you know, how much battery do you come home with?
Yeah.
If I take a full power out around here, it's like it's hard for me to do a battery. You know, so I think people probably need to just consider where they ride, how they ride, and don't worry about limitations as such. Just, I mean, at the end of the day, ride what you want to ride.
I'm just about to bring out a video shortly comparing battery sizes, and
Yeah.
the very fact that there's bikes out there with 900 watt hour batteries that are, you know, fixed. You don't have a choice. Once you buy that bike with a 900 battery, even if you're going for a 40-minute blast on your local hill, you're carrying all that weight with you. And I've compared it to, say, like bottles of water. I mean, imagine taking that amount of water like on your back or on your bike.
It's
just for
weight. Yeah.
It's a lot of weight, and I think that is. I keep coming back to the idea of modular batteries and or at least the range extender thing. So, yeah, I mean,
But there is something with that. As much as I'm an advocate for exactly that, because the thing that I have to have from a mountain bike is that connection with the ground, which is why I always like lighter bikes, and that's why that Neat works so well for me. But that said, I love a full power bike. What you can do on them. I've been riding an XR Limited with the Bosch Race, and it's like take the piss good. Like what you can do on the motor. Now I've got used to the motor. I would still say it's too aggressive for me. I absolutely don't need it. Like the CX is brilliant, like no doubt about that. But now I've been riding flat pedals all winter today, just trying to relearn my old habits because I was always flats to start with and I was messing around with stuff. And you know, playing around with the overrun steps and just things you can get up. It's just wicked fun. Can't remember. I was going with that. Got carried away talking
batteries and modular.
Yes, the feel of the bikes. So, you know, if you're a consumer, most people, I'm taking a stab at this. People will probably correct me. Want to get the most bang for the buck. So that might be getting an alloy bike. It might be getting the biggest battery possible. So they're not limited. They'd rather have too much than not enough. And where the e-bike market will struggle to sort of justify itself is the bikes with the smaller batteries and then having to pay an extra fee to get the range extenders. You know, I think the range extenders, I agree. The modular system is brilliant because you've got an option of a bigger ride, taking a bit more weight, or strip it all off and have something mega light and fun to ride. That's the total appeal for me. But I'd definitely be interested to see what people think of that because there's obviously, you know, a financial burden with that.
Yeah, and when I look at the comments on some of my videos and I see the differing opinions that people have and also the differing ways in which people use their e-bikes, it's when I create a review on a bike, it's based on where I ride and the sort of riding I like to do. Everyone's got a different view, and I think that if bike manufacturers can give people the option, then it makes it a more tempting purchase and might tempt more people over from just their regular mountain bikes.
Yeah, and definitely from now my experience riding and a few different brands as well with their lighter powered e-bikes, I think that there's a lot more there for the mountain biker that doesn't really want to commit to an e-bike yet. They're not sure they want that feeling. Perhaps they're one of those what Jonesy would call dinosaurs. It's like, oh, I'm not old enough for one of those yet. You know, that sort of mentality. I think a lot of those riders, if they tried some of the lighter e-bikes, they'd be quite shocked at how normal they feel. But also, they're a great enabler with, hold on, what you mean? I reckon I can get up that. I'm good enough, but I've never been able to climb that, and I can get up there now. You know, I think it just accentuate what you love on a bike. That's no bad thing.
Talking of the overrun that you mentioned just a minute ago, have you tried riding or have you had the opportunity to ride an EWS spec motor bike? I say motorbike because that's kind of like the overrun on these EWS bikes, or EDR, I guess we should say now. They seem pretty insane. Like they can give overrun up to 2 meters, I believe.
Yeah, that's what the Bosch Race has got. Yeah.
Okay.
So on last year's bike, which I've got, they did the limited run because the Foxy XR Limited has the Bosch CX Performance Race motor on there. So it's the same 600 watt peak power on there. It gives you 400% support instead of, I think, 340 is what the CX does. It's the same torque, same everything. You lose eco and you gain race, basically, in the modes on there. Look, I've got to say the colours can be confusing on it because the colours are the same. So if you jump in between a bike that's got CX and between that, you end up a mode up accidentally and wondering why you bring the battery quicker.
Yeah.
but most people would never have access to more than one ridiculous bike. So been very fortunate to try lots.
I have spoken to a EWSE rider whose name I won't mention, who said to me that they've tried the motor with 4 meters worth of overrun.
Yeah.
And it is literally like riding a trials motorbike.
Yeah. Well, even with the 2 meters that you can get on this one just off the shelf, like you can, because it picks up so much faster. I don't know what it is in degrees, but it feels like about 20 degrees.
Yeah.
And you've got full power. Like it's mind blowing, and also can really mess your riding up as well. Because if you're in that setting and you're doing low speed and you maybe just jack on the cranks, you suddenly get full power. So it can mess things up, but it does enable you. And I've only found this once in this country where I've been riding, where I was like, oh my god, that was incredible. Where there's like a trail I ride and it's got like a little sort of V-shaped notch, like an old riverbed with steps on it. And it's really difficult to time your pedaling up there because not just because of steps, because of the sides as well and the stuff poking out. And you can literally ratchet up parts of it. And I was like, man, I've never been able to get up that on anything. And yeah, no, some people would be like, oh, just learn to ride better. But that's just made me realise the capability of the motor.
Yeah, it's almost like creating a new sport in itself, isn't it?
I'm kind of amazed that there hasn't been some kind of format of like eMTB trials. I know Jonesy's tried to push this a few times, and I think there's too many sort of variants within it. But you know, it'd be mega fun, I think, for technical riders doing that sort of stuff. Kickstart meets what you see Tony Bow doing, messing around on e-bikes in the pits. I mean, I don't know if you've seen some of the stuff those guys are doing, like Fuji Gas as well.
Madness.
Unreal. They're throwing them around because obviously they're used to trials bikes, which are significantly heavier. So their e-bikes become toys.
And on the subject of overrun, I know that Bosch obviously are known for their race motor, but I've also heard that Shimano, the EWS spec motors, are even more powerful now. And we're not seeing that yet on the production bikes, but surely that's going to come soon.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I didn't know about that with the Shimano stuff, but it doesn't surprise me. I think the EP801 has had a bit of an unfair sort of beating from people, like, because on paper it's pretty much the same as the Bosch, and actually if you go into those settings, I think it's like 15 custom settings, you lose the dynamic sort of feature, but you can completely tune your own motor. I think it's amazing. I think it's a really good motor. I don't have an issue with it, but I think people have just unfortunately just kind of cast it a little bit. I think it's totally unfair. For a lot of people tried that motor back to back with the Bosch CX, I'd be pretty surprised.
I agree. I've spent a lot of time on Shimano motors, and whilst in the past the reliability was a bit of an issue and it was always a little bit down on power, I think they're getting there, and I think they could surprise us in the next sort of generation of motors. They might well take a step beyond where we are currently, even with the Bosch. So, yeah, I think the future's bright there.
I mean, the progression you have in SRAM at the moment is incredible, and obviously Bosch just focusing on what they're doing there. I mean, from my perspective, if I was a consumer, I would probably be looking at a Bosch equipped bike. Not that there's anything wrong with the other systems, but purely for the aftermarket service and the sheer amount of places that you can get things fixed and how quickly it can be done. That would be probably the most attractive thing, because I kind of think backwards about things like that. I always think about servicing and mechanics and stuff. And I just think it's amazing, to be fair. But no, they're all incredible systems, and I think Shimano, like I said, has had that unfair sort of, you know, some people have slagged it off from what they've ridden on the old EP8, but the 801 is significantly better. And let's also not forget what Shimano have done historically with all of their development, is they've always been, and apart from the early days when there wasn't another brand and Shimano was the only competitor as such, Shimano are always a little bit late to the game. And then they tend to storm in and they're like, oh yeah, by the way, we've been working on this.
Yeah.
With their 12 speed, the first time they released the XT, it was okay. But then they sort of went back to the drawing table. They improved what they'd already built on, and then they released it down, to the SLX and to Dior level. And I still think that their mid to entry to midpoint gear is unbeatable. I mean, that Shimano stuff is absolutely fantastic, and I think you're going to see them coming back big time.
On the subject of e-bike tech, have you seen the new SRAM brakes?
I have. Yeah, I've not tried them yet actually. Yeah, I've not tried them.
Well, I just think they're interesting because they've just scaled up the 4-pot brake by the looks of it, and what's more, they moved over to mineral brake fluid as well.
Yeah, mineral fluid, the 4 bolts on the caliper, bigger pistons, bigger pads. I mean, on paper they sound incredible, and from people I've spoken to about them, like Guy, he says it's literally, you don't get much better braking other than riding it with a skip. He says they're unbelievably powerful, and like a marked difference as well. So yeah, the mineral thing's interesting. Of course, like SRAM put those videos out a few years back, basically saying that DOT was the ultimate thing.
Yeah.
And then they released their mineral brake, which incidentally being a price point brake, all the reviews I've seen of bikes I have it on have said, "Oh, we're not that keen on the look, but it feels incredible." They've all loved that brake, so they're clearly been doing something really cool behind the scenes. Yeah, I'm dead keen to try it. I don't have a preference between DOT and mineral. I think people just, it's a lot of fuss about spilt milk, isn't it? It's just like, if it works, brilliant.
Tell me about, 'cause you'll know more than me, a lot more than me, about bleeding brakes, because I never had an issue with any brakes that I'd ever worked with that had mineral oil. Is that a coincidence, or is it just the fact that the SRAM system in the past wasn't as good as, say, Shimano when it comes to ease of use, ease of servicing?
I've had mixed with both systems, and you got to, I think, before you even compare, like, this is nothing about brands, before you compare different styles of brake, mineral and DOT, you've got to consider that how many brakes are manufactured and how many things go wrong in production lines.
Yeah.
They're churning out an enormous amount of things. It's no surprise that here and there, in however many thousands of pairs of whatever they're churning out, there's going to be an error on something. And most of the time, those things will be picked up, all these different specialist factories. But sometimes you're going to get batches of stuff. Perhaps there was, I don't know, like an issue with a seal on a brake, for example. And then that seal had escaped through, and that becomes one batch. And, one tester might get one of those from that batch, and then a few people from the public. And then, unfortunately, with the way the negativity spreads online, that product, whatever it is, someone will bitch about it. And then probably several people that have had nothing to do with it, no experience, they'll join in as well. I just can't stand that nature of it. It's like, it's manufacturing. Yes, most things are brilliant, and of course you're going to get issues, but it's like, just deal with it. I've come out the brakes that have been brilliant. I've had ones I've had to bleed a bit more than you should, and the same as SRAM. But I think they are both excellent, and they've obviously, I don't know what you know about the two different fluids, but I think the reason a lot of people prefer DOT without even knowing about DOT is the fact that it's standardised in the motor industry. So it stands for Department of Transportation. So it's like a government standard, and it was developed basically because the fluid would have to adhere to a certain boiling point, and then it's basically universal then across all manufacturers.
Sure.
And then there are other traits with it as well. So DOT by nature ingests moisture, which can lead to problems with getting moisture in the lines and air in the lines and bleeding. But then also a flip side of that is the fact that, a downside is you can get corrosion in the line, but everything is kind of spread out through the line. And then the opposite way around with mineral is hydrophobic. Like, it doesn't matter. That's why you can keep a massive container of mineral forever, and technically to keep using it with DOT, you've got to recycle it. But, as incredible as mineral is, it's also going to have some little downsides to it as well. So if you get any water in the system, it's going to pool in one place. So you might, if you get corrosion, I mean, to be fair, to get corrosion on the inside of the line, it's got to be in there a flipping long time to start. So people are like, oh, I'm corrosion. Like, really? It's not a car that you've had for 15 years. It's a bike within 6 months. Like, I just see it in both ways as a non-problem. If you maintain your bike, neither of the systems are bad. They are both excellent. They both work really well.
And it sounds like the SRAM are using their own formula now, so you can't
Everyone uses
use.
their own formula. Shimano has their oil, which is different to Magura's, which is different. It's like, okay, well, the thing with mineral oil, because the fact it's different to DOT. DOT is the standard. It has to be manufactured and pass the test
Yeah,
to be called DOT 4 or 4.1 or whatever it is. Whereas mineral oil is, the beauty of it is it's designed by the manufacturer to their own specs. So you could argue that although it's not governed like DOT is, the standards could be higher. Because just because DOT is governed doesn't mean it's a higher standard. Safety standards aren't the highest, but most manufacturers exceed them. You know, the safety standard is the minimum it needs to get to. So you could argue that DOT is just a minimum standard thing, and many mineral oils, I'm not going to give you examples because I can't, will be different. You know, Shimano make theirs their way, Magura make theirs their way, SRAM using the Maxima stuff, and it will be specific to their brake in terms of the performance they want. But yeah, on a bit of paper, you could technically use any oil, but you know, whether that's going to affect your warranty or if it's going to affect the performance of the brakes, well, that's up to you to risk that. I've always loved, the right tool for the job.
talking of Magura brakes, I heard stories from people, trials riders back in the 90s, just using water in their
Yep,
systems.
yep.
Had you ever done that?
I've put tea in before, just for a laugh. When I was at MBK, I think it was with Finn actually, in some Magura HS33s. We're like, oh, some people have run water, and we're like, cool, let's try tea. And yeah, they'll run anything. Olive oil doesn't matter. And in fact, a lot of the trials riders did it because it gave them a faster lever action.
Yeah.
And it's not as if they're doing high speed riding where it's going to heat up. You know, they're low speed and moving around. So yeah, it's obviously the correct tool for the job is always going to be better. So if SRAM recommend Maxima, use it. You're going to get the best experience.
Love it. No, that's cool. So yeah, just finally back to Mondraker. Let's stay on brand.
Yeah.
You still, I know when I last spoke to you, you said the Neat was the one that really was of most interest to you. Obviously, you spent some
Yeah.
time on that now. Is that
Yeah.
is that still the standout bike for you?
Yeah, because in probably my favourite style of bike, nunny bike, it's always been like a 130 type bike. But with Mondraker, it'd always been a Foxy. The first bike I had back in 2013 was a Foxy, and I've had loads of Foxys over the years. And I've got a Foxy here, and if I'm honest, I've barely ridden it. I've ridden it probably 5 or 6 times since I've had it. I've ridden my Rays more because I still love that. I treat it like a cross country bike. But the Neat has almost become my new Foxy equivalent because
Okay.
it's got the same traits. It's fun, it's light. I mean, fun being the most important thing to me. It's modern, it's light, it does everything the Foxy does for me, but it's enabled me to, I work from home most of the time, and you know how bad the winter's been this year.
Oh yeah.
I've now got one of those dirt ledge suits, and I've even done a Jonesy and ridden it with that with wellies.
Wellies.
When it's been that ridiculous. Because getting out of lunch break, and I'm like, it doesn't matter what it's doing outside. I zip up, put it all on, chuck the boots on, and I just go and smash out a quick hour. And the reality is, I could only get in like a 20-minute ride if I was doing it on a conventional bike because the amount of time it takes to clean the stuff. Because I can actually get a pretty good ride, come back, just hang the overalls up, give the bike a super quick jet wash, bit of bike spray on it, protect it, and then back to work. And that has enabled me to keep my sanity through the winter. Whereas actually, if I think I didn't have access to an e-bike with my situation working from home and stuff, I think I probably would have struggled with riding like loads.
Yeah.
I'm not ashamed to say it. I've relied on it, and it's been great for me.
Yeah. I'm exactly the same. And honestly, as a winter bike, my e-bike is what gets me through the winter, and it's what's kept me in the UK for now. But yeah, talking of that, have you got any more trips to Spain planned?
Yeah, there's always stuff coming up. I'm actually going to do some Shimano training soon.
Cool.
Going to Madrid for that though, so I don't quite know what the score is. I've just been told, hey, let's get a flight booked, which I've got to do today actually. So that's in a couple of weeks. Yeah, going over there and then do some more filming with some other bikes that you'll hear about soon. And then trying to think what's coming up after that. A couple of cool projects that are not new bike related, but super cool projects that I can't talk about. Like very cool, very very Mondraker and very not like anyone else. And then of course racing is going to start kicking off soon. So we've obviously got a race team, and I've seen the rig. Oh,
wait till you see this thing. This is
Okay.
absolutely nuts. They've always had a big rig in the past, but this is next level. And it's at the moment it's in Spain. It's by the office, so they've been. In fact, it hasn't needed too much work on it, just some branding basically, because it was so well done on the inside by the previous owner. The outside obviously is getting wrapped or painted, and then they're having all the awnings and stuff built by a company, as far as I know, in the UK. So it will be in the UK before Fort William, and I think the aim is to do some kind of like a dummy race, like a trial, so they can set everything up, try the full setup with the mechanics and masseuse and everything,
Nice.
as if they're like a simulation basically. So hopefully I get to go and see that, because I want to see the entire rig, because that would make the best ever flat lay.
Oh yeah,
stuff that's going to be in it. So they've got to do it for the first time. They've got to figure it out.
yeah.
So it's super interesting, because I've seen loads of pro trucks before, been on the SRAM one many times, and they're all really good, but they're so established that the mechanics that work on them, they know everything. They know every inch of them, and this is a brand new setup. So I'm mega excited, and to meet the team as well. So yeah, 3 very different races, and they've already doing great things. So yeah, that'd be cool. So I'll probably follow them at Fort William as well.
Excited to see that. I mean, what you've already done on Mondraker TV has been excellent, and I've been following it all the way. So, I mean, I can't wait to see that. Not just e-bike related stuff. I can't wait to see everything that you're doing and following on that journey now with Mondraker. It's just really exciting to see.
Thanks, dude. Yeah, it's been really interesting. Like, it hasn't been easy, because we're doing something brand new that they've never done before. They've got an in-house photographer. He's a studio photographer called Ivan, and he's incredible.
I've noticed.
Their images have got like a studio style image that they use outside on the trail. Travels with flashes. His camera bags are ridiculous, and he's now doing part of the filming. And then there's Javi, who previously he'd be doing like social content for them, and now he's a full-time creator. So I've been learning the way they work. They've been learning the way I work. There's a language barrier. We're kind of meeting in the middle with everything. They obviously use completely different software over there from what I've been using. So there's been so many things to try and build, but I think now we're just starting to get into a bit of a rhythm. So, we're not there. We've made some good stuff, and I think there's going to be some brilliant stuff to come. But I think all things considered, I'm really proud of what they've especially achieved so far.
Yeah.
It's only going to get better.
Love it. No, I'm pleased to see that you have slotted in neatly there. And there's a play on words. But yeah, okay, cool. We're running out of time, but thank you so much for spending the time just to have a quick chat, impromptu.
No,
and Mondraker TV is on YouTube. Where else is good to look for people?
Well, obviously we've got loads of Instagram accounts for all the different countries. There's obviously the main Spanish account, UK one. There's loads of those. And if you want to see me ramble on about old bike stuff, then I've got Doddy eMTB Tech as well.
Yes, of course.
That's just a little personal endeavour. It's nothing to do with my day job. It's just when I have time, I'll put a blog out, basically, just for fun.
Love it. Cool. Thanks, Doddy. I'm going to stop recording there, but we will catch up again very soon.
Take care, mate.